So I'm going to show you how you can make outbound acquisition work in 2026. So the time I'm recording this is January, but it's probably still going to be applicable for really the whole year. Now, what you can see here on the screen is basically all of the outbound channels that you can use to acquire customers, right? So what I'm gonna do is provide you with which ones you should use right now, which ones are the best for your niche, for your industry, and for your service, the kind of a problem you help solve. Um, and then you're gonna make a decision which one's gonna work better. And then I'm also going to walk you through this quick document that you need to. These are really just the bird's eye view foundation of the whole outbound. How I build the systems that I've built, because I work with usually agency owners, consultants, and B2B coaches to help them integrate this outbound infrastructure on commission basis. And I've been in it for more than a year, I think 2 years almost. But essentially, let me walk you through this so I know what I'm talking about because I've been running outbound for about 2 years, continuous iteration and testing. Now, I'm going to walk you through the benefits of each channel, what are the best for your niche, which channels are the best for your niche. So let's get into it. Now, cold calling, the classical one, right? So, Wolf of Wall Street, right? This is who you're going to be when you're cold calling. Now, cold calling, I would say, is number one for most niches. Now, if you're in the B2B niche, if you are, let's say, what niche is also bad for cold, if you're in the info niche, in the e-commerce niche, cold calling is not going to be a fit for you. But for local business niches and for, think about gyms, therapists, dental, healthcare, all of these niches, they're going to be perfect. Cold calling is going to be perfect. So it's very cheap. Cold calling is extremely cheap, so there's going to be one massive benefit for a lot of people starting out. If you buy Go Ahead App, you can essentially cold call for less than $50 a month, and you can call about 100 to 200 businesses a day. And you can get Google Voice; it's basically free if you're from the United States or Canada. Another one is Just Call, where you can cold call for about $60 a month to United States and Canada for free, unlimited. So cold calling is going to be very, very affordable. Another thing is personal. That's another benefit. So the reason we want personal approach with our messages and we integrate this into email and into DMs because making a personal approach is going to get so it's gonna get such a good appointment booking rate compared to if you don't do a personal approach. If you just copy and paste text, it's um it's it's crazy. Okay, I can't even express it in the words because if you send them a video or if you send them a text, it's gonna be the KPIs are gonna be way different. Now another thing when it comes to cold calling, another benefit is volume. And this is a recent paradigm shift I had. What was it, about a week ago? I was doing emails and we were getting some appointments for most of our clients. It was not bad, don't get me wrong, but we weren't doing enough volume. And what I've realized is like just do more volume, man. And that's why I included Alex Hormozy here because that's his main quote. Just do more, because if you do more, you're gonna get more. So that these are the best parts of cold calling. Now, the downsides of cold calling are it's commoditized. So I'm going to just do it like that. It's commoditized. That's one. It's very bad, right? If you're cold calling home service businesses, a lot of them are just going to tell you fuck off. So what you need to do is you need to build a niche specific list, right? So you can source leads manually, either from LinkedIn, from industry specific websites. So let's say you take as an example, you're in the home improvement industry, right? You can source leads from what is that, Yelp or House. You can source industry specific leads or Google Maps, but that's not industry specific. So you're going to source these kinds of leads so you don't get commoditized, and you still are going to get commoditized some of the times. And gatekeeper, right? Gatekeeper. That's another bad part about cold calling because a lot of the times, if you're calling big businesses, you're going to be speaking with gatekeeper and they're dealing with dozens of cold calls every single day. So they know nothing to do about it. And you need to learn how to use pattern interrupt. I know this guy, Swerve, he's on Instagram. And what he basically does for pattern interrupts is he says, fuck off to gatekeepers, and it works. Like I tried it myself a couple of times, and it does work. Now it does it like decrease your business reputation? It does, but it does work to get past gatekeepers. I've tried it. I've tested it a couple of times, and it's cool. And then to the owner, you're speaking like a normal business, which is Swerve, he doesn't do that. He just says to the owner, you're a douchebag and shit. But you want to, after you get through the gatekeeper, you want to be professional, right? So you can use pattern interrupts. You can play around with this. You can just say that you know business owner personally. It's kind of unethical, but it does work. It does work the charm. So gatekeepers are going to be a big problem. So you're going to, have to find a way on how to get past them. And another thing is going to be at the beginning, right? You're gonna have to make thousands of dials, and I did that. I'm not cold calling anymore, because my niche is not an ideal one for cold calling, as I've said, B2B. I've tried it, and the pickup rates are low, and people are not really used to getting cold call, so they don't like it. But you can still get appointments. Don't get me wrong. It's just going to be much. It's going to be just much less leverage than if you do cold DMs or any of other channels. But if you're in the home improvement niche, let's say I was cold calling for home improvement, I probably did tens of thousands of cold calls in that niche, for my previous agency. That's how I essentially learned this outbound infrastructure, how to build this. But you're going to have to make thousands of cold calls before you get it. I mean, when I started cold calling, I set a goal in mind. I'm going to have to make 1,000 cold calls because before I get my first meeting. And I got it in 37 calls. It was just pure luck. Then I ended up, being on a streak of 2,000 calls without a meeting. But that one meeting, it got me motivated to continue, right? So that's what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to make, a goal. If I don't make at least 1,000 calls, I can't expect a meeting, because that's how you're going to learn. And don't use the script, all right? You don't want to be using scripts. You want to be using frameworks. And I'm going to create a video on how you can use the framework, Impact framework. I learned it in a 5-figure program, and I've used it myself, iterated it a bit, and it works extremely well. So this is it about cold calling. It is a very good channel, I would say. If you're in the local business niche and you're just starting out, it's number one. But if you're more established, you can think about building a department and integrating it with the next channel, which is going to be cold SMS. The cold SMS has a lot of upsides. The first one is non-commoditized, so non-CM. This is one big upside, because think about it. How many people are doing cold SMS? Not a lot, right? So there's going to be a lot of less friction and a lot of less volume from your competition on cold SMS. So that's one upside. The second one is high reply. So the reason you'll be getting high reply rates is because it's not commoditized. That's what it ties to the first point. But you can think about 30 to 40% reply rates, which is absolutely crazy, but it's possible, and I wouldn't say it's possible, it's probable. And then another upside would also be volume. So you can do a ton of volume through cold SMS, because like SMS rates, they are not that high. You can use Go High Level, and I think it's like 1 cent to send an SMS, or Google Voice. It's basically for free to send cold SMS to US and Canada, but you're going to have to warm them up properly, right? So you're gonna have to start slow, sending about 5 SMS a day, and then when you're at the full volume on one account on Google Voice, you can be sending about 50 a day. So volume, you can do a lot of volume. Like a Google Voice account is basically free, and you can do a lot of volume. Now the downsides, let me do it like this. The downsides are illegal. No, it's not illegal everywhere, and it really depends on the way you do this, right? So if you send them, that's why you're going to integrate cold SMS with other channels. Illegal, it's in most countries it is illegal to do complete cold SMS, but if you integrate it with cold calling or cold email and then send them an SMS reminding them about it, it's not illegal. So that's a way around it. But if you just do pure cold SMS, it's illegal. And another thing is spam. And that's another thing I forgot about cold calling, flag. Your number can get flagged if you don't do it properly, and you're going to basically just land in voicemails. And same goes for cold SMS. If you don't do proper warm up, you're going to basically get flagged. And another thing is, like, people are going to see your number as flagged, and they're going to think that you're just like a scammer or somebody trying to hurt their business or something. So that's another thing. And the other thing is unsolicited, basically meaning you didn't get their permission. So it is what it is. It can get you appointments, don't get me wrong. If you're starting out, you can do this at your own risk. But cold SMS, once you start it, it's gonna book you so many meetings. And listen to me. Now let's talk about cold email. So cold email is a very good one still. A lot of people think it's commoditized and it's bad, and it is commoditized, but it's not bad. So cold email, the upsides are another one would be like its upside is it can be cheap. I wanted to say it you can do a lot of volume, but it's not going to be cheap if you do a lot of volume, right? So it can be cheap, but it's not necessarily inherently cheap because you need to you need to buy the entire tech. Now I'm going to create a video on how you can do this for under $50 a month, which is going to be doable for a lot of you. It doesn't matter like where you are with the business. If you're making $10,000 a month, you're going to be able to do it with that infrastructure, or if you're making $0. Okay. Now, cold email has a lot of upsides, right? So you can do, I would say, volume is another one. Another upside of cold email is personal. So you can use integrate personal approach with video, and with personalized lines, which are the core personalization, I would say, foundations on how we personalize our emails. So you can do either a cold zoom in the first email or in the second one, or you can do a personalized line in the first and the second email. So that's how I would do it. Now, these are the two upsides. There are a couple of more. Another one would be like easy. Easy. What I mean by easy is you can source leads easily, and you can contact basically the whole niche through email because you're in the B2B niche, right? You're an agency owner, consultant, or a coach, and you 100%. I can guarantee that you have an email. If not a business email, you have a Gmail, and you probably have it linked to your LinkedIn or your social media. So that's you can basically reach out to the whole niche, and that's how you can build up your brand. And that's what we're doing right now, essentially for our company. We're just doubling down on volume. That's the paradigm shift I was talking about that I had last week. We're just going to do a ton of volume. So that's are the upsides. Now the downside, a big one, deliverability. For the fuck's sake, I can't even spell deliverability. Deliverability, yeah, like this. Such a long word. But deliverability is a downside because you're going to land in spam if you do anything sketchy. So you need to follow proper SOPs, so standard operating procedures. You need to create them in order to not land into spam. And I might create a video on how to do this because we figured it out. A big thing for you to land in spam is going to be about sending links in your cold emails. That's what we used to do, and we're not doing it anymore. It still did work. We got about 50% inbox rate, but still, like you're gonna get flagged as well. So I wouldn't recommend. I would recommend just sending, and when they reply, you can send them the video. So deliverability is one thing. Another downside to cold email, it's commoditized, CM. But it doesn't matter because if you do it personally and if you do a lot of volume, you can still win. And it is commoditized. A lot of people are doing it, but their emails just look, "Hey, are you looking for SEO services? My team at bullshit web design specializes in bullshit," and that's the kind of emails they're getting. So you can easily get around this one. Okay, so we've talked about cold calling, we've talked about cold SMS, we've talked about cold email. Now we're gonna talk about cold DMs. So I personally my favorite one right now is either cold email or DMs. Probably cold DMs is my favorite one right now. Now the reason is you can do it ultra personal and there's no deliverability. So I'm going to do no delivery. So the no deliverability part really depends on the kind of a platform you're using. On Facebook and on LinkedIn, there's really no tangible deliverabilities, especially on LinkedIn, because once you connect with somebody, you can really blast them anything, and then you can send them a personal video, which is what we are doing right now. And it works really well. You can send about 20 of those because 20 people are on average going to connect with you per day. If you're connecting with 30 people and you have a strong profile and a nice lead list, you're going to get about 20 connections. So you can do 20 volume, and you can also send. That's another upside. Weekends. Weekends. That's a big upside because think about it. You're going to get 2 extra days of volume every single week. Because with cold email, you're going to land in spam if you do on weekends, if you send emails on weekends. In cold SMS, it's another thing. You can do weekends, but it's going to be very spammy. And with cold calling, nobody's going to answer on weekends, at least if you're in like a traditional niche, right? Um, if you're in SaaS or something, they're going to be because they're startup founders, they are hungry and they're going to answer to everything. But to get back to cold DMs, you can do weekends, you can do personal approach, um, and there's no deliverability, right? In most platforms, and on Instagram there is deliverability. Another thing is you can integrate content. So that's also a big upside. Now, the title of this video is how you can get a client without content. So it's kind of an irony, but you can use content to just enhance your outbound systems, right? So that's another upside. You can't do this with cold email, and it's going to build up credibility. So you can basically build as much credibility as you like, and it's merit based, right? The better profile you have, the better connection back rate you're going to get on LinkedIn, let's say, and the more replies you're going to get, the more appointments you're going to get, the better your profile is. So that this is it. You need to integrate your content. Now, another thing is detailed ICP. What that means is you can basically target your ideal client profile in detail, right? So if you're connecting with people on LinkedIn or if you're following people on Instagram, um, you can take a look through their profile if you want to even get them connected with. Now with email, you can also do that, but it's going to take so much time to lead source, and the KPIs are usually going to be lower. So another thing is high KPIs. That's another thing with cold DMs. So high KPIs, high key performance indicators. So there's a higher appointment booking rate than on email and on cold calling. There's a higher reply back rate, and there is a higher really positive engagement rate. On cold calling, you're not going to be able to really manage and track that as well. You can, but it's going to be harder and it's going to take more time. But the downsides about cold DM is low volume, on one account. That's what I'm talking about. You can do a lot of volume if you build an infrastructure, but it's going to be more expensive. So if you build an infrastructure, it's also going to be expensive. But if you're just starting out, it can be free. So that's another upside. If you just have one account, one LinkedIn, one Instagram, and one Facebook, which I'm personally doing only LinkedIn and Instagram, and there's also School if you're in like a specific niche in like info, you can also use School, but you can use it for free at the beginning. Now, if you want to scale and to get more LinkedIn verified LinkedIn accounts, it's going to cost you like $100 for every account every single month, and you're essentially just going to be able to do 50 more a day, 50 messages and emails, which is a completely other video for like to explain how the cold LinkedIn works. Um, but it's going to be expensive if you want to scale. So let me do it like this: expensive scaling. And another downside I would say about the cold DMs, it's not commoditized, but approaches are. Yeah, I'm going to do it like this. Approaches are commoditized. Now, if you do it personally, it's not gonna be. So that's another upside. And my cold DMs are probably my favorite part right now, the favorite channel. The second one would be cold email, and then would be a combination of cold calling and cold SMS. So this is it for upsides of all of these channels. I hope this gave you a lot of value. Now, what I'm going to explain is how you can mix this together in order to build an optimal appointment setting system. So what we're doing right now is we're integrating all of these channels together, right? Um, so I'm going to call this one A. So cold calling is A. I'm going to label it like this. SMS is B, email is C, and DMs are D, okay? So you're going to combine these channels together, right? So you can do AB. This is one combination you can do. You can do BC. So you can basically send a cold SMS and then a cold email, which is not the best combination, but it can work. I've never tested it. I've tested this one. Another one I've tested is C, A, B. So you're going to send them a cold email. If they don't respond, you're going to give them a cold call, like a follow-up. And if they don't respond as well, you're going to give them a cold SMS. Another one that you can do is CD. So you can send them a cold email, and if they don't respond, you can remind them through DMs, so through LinkedIn, if they're interested. So you can mix up combinations and do something like this. Okay. So this is about it for this part of the video. Now, just to walk you through some of the foundations about really building out the systems, just so you can have an idea of how this is going to go if you're just starting out with outbound, or if you've never built a successful outbound system. Let me walk you through this. So I'm going to talk about the three pillars on how we were able to build our system to get 2 to 3 to 4 to even 5 calls a day. For example, today I have 5 sales calls. Essentially, these are the three pillars. So this is on the top of it is speed, right? So you want to execute everything with speed. Speed means fast execution, quick response. So when people are responding and calling you back through cold calls, responding to your DMs, you want to be fast to respond, quick to respond, and rapid testing. Is my mic still on? Yeah. So rapid testing, it means that you can, if you can do a lot of volume, you can do a lot of tests. So you can do one test every single week if you're doing a lot of volume. Which, if you're doing ads, you know how important it is to test a ton of things, right? A ton of variables. Um, then aim. We have aim at the left bottom. Aim means niche specificity. So you got want to get specific when, especially with cold email and cold SMS. You want to be specific. I mean, with all channels, but these are the main ones, right? So you want to be specific. You want to have rhythm, which is a part of cadence, but you want to have rhythm with specificity. You want to have personalization, another thing, as I was talking earlier with cold emails and cold DMs. You want to do personal approach. Cold calling kind of indicates the personal approach of itself because it's a strategy that indicates personal approach because you're cold calling them personally. Relevant offer, so meaning you're going to have the relevant offer to your niche, and correct channel, so you're going to pick a correct channel to your niche, which I didn't talk about yet. So I'm going to give you which channel is going to be applicable for which niche in a second, but let me go first through this triangle. And then cadence is going to mean consistency, compounding pipeline. So basically, the more consistent you are, the better KPIs you're going to be, and the more sales you're going to make, the more money, the more consistent you are. Consistency compounds. And then you're going to have structure. So you're going to have a specific structure on how you're going to approach outbound and your consistency and your volume. So these are the three, the triangle I use to really build out my systems. Um, Now, which niche is going to be applicable? Like which channel is going to be applicable for your niche? That's really probably your main question. Now, cold DMs, they're really applicable for everything, right? Because think about it, home improvement, everybody has social platforms, everybody has Facebook, everybody has Instagram, most people have LinkedIn. If you're in a B2C niche, cold LinkedIn is going to be hard. If you're doing like gyms, cold DMs is going to be hard. But if you're in the home improvement, if you're in the e-commerce, if you're in the B2B, if you're in the info, let me think about it more. If you're in for fucking sake of it, if you're, let's say, I don't know, if you're basically in any niche, cold DMs are going to be applicable. Cold email is going to be very good, but it depends on if your niche does screen their emails. So if you're in the dental niche, if you're in the healthcare niche, if you're in the law niche, so like lawyers, um, cold email is going to be very hard because they have receptionists who screen their emails, and DM is probably going to be a better approach, or cold SMS, but you're going to have to find their personal numbers. So cold email really works for all of those niches that I listed out earlier. So home improvement, gyms, B2B, a lot of these kinds of niches, right? Even rentals, transportation, logistics, all of these kind of niches, cold email is going to be very good. Real estate. And then we have cold SMS. Cold SMS is going to be good for all niches. It's going to be because everybody has a phone number. Everybody has an email, but like everybody has a phone number. 99.9% of people have an email in the B2B space, and in the B2B and the B2C space, 100% of people have a phone number. So these are going to be applicable for all niches. Now, depending on how well your niche screens their cold calling and their cold SMS, is going to depend really on what kind of people you're targeting. For example, for me, in the B2B space, they're not as receptive to cold calls and to cold SMS, but you can still get some good numbers, and they're more receptive to LinkedIn and email, right? So that's one thing. You're going to make sure that these are applicable. So these are going to be applicable for anybody who's targeting really people, B2B humans. Um, but make sure that they are usually screening their emails. So real estate is going to be a good one for this too. Home improvement is going to be a good one for this too. Now, e-com is going to be a very bad one. Another good one is going to be finance. Is going to be a perfect one. Healthcare, dental, um, therapy. So this kind of niches are going to be perfect for cold calling. So I hope it gives you enough value on this part, what kind of a channel you should go with, depending on your niche. Now, how I build a velocity infrastructure. So I went back to the fundamentals of client acquisition. Really, the fundamental, to explain it to you, is human. So this is a human, and they're going to receive your message. This is your, no, it's not a mass, it's your message. So a human is going to see your message, right? This should represent an I. and they're going to see your message, which we label it as a stimuli. So human stimuli, and then if your stimuli is good enough, and if you do enough follow-ups, so this is all a part of your stimuli, it's going to create action. And this is how you get appointments. So we went back to the fundamentals. I went back to understand this right here. You can see uh, in detail. So you're going to focus a bit on this, right? Because this is really the core foundation of client acquisition. Now, you're going to follow the 80-20 principle. So you're going to want to trim as much away as possible, right? So you're going to focus on the 20% that gives you the most value. So you don't want to be doing all of this at once. You just want to focus on one and then expand, right? So you want to go narrow and wide. So this is how you want to approach it. You want to go narrow and wide. So this is one channel, and then you can expand to multiple. Another thing that I use to build this infrastructure is using multiple five-figure programs of material, right? So I've used a lot of different coaching and consulting programs to be able to build this kind of an infrastructure. So on that side, I have a lot of information. I have 2 years of testing, as I was talking about at the start of the video. I've been testing these channels for about 2 years now, cold email specifically and cold calling. Um, so for that part, I'm covered, and that's how I was able to build it. And then volume over time, it compounds, right? This is a part of cadence. This is consistency. Consistency compounds. Now this diagram here, right here, is from Sam Owens. Not sure if you guys are available. Are what's the word? If you guys are familiar, if you guys are familiar with Sam Owens, but he's basically the founder, co-founder of School, this platform right here. He's the co-founder of School.com, and this is the diagram for him. Now it's a little bit developed in a more client acquisition type of way. But as I was talking about here, right here, is input is going to be a human, right? It's going to be a lead that you're reaching out to. This is going to be really the foundation of client acquisition. And they have something called latent conditions. So this is from Charlie Morgan. I learned this from him. So they have something called latent conditions, meaning they have something in their past that makes them really ambitious about growing their business and getting the result that you're promising. So you should know that by researching your niche. But latent conditions should be something like they're not getting enough appointments, they're struggling with acquisition, they struggle to stand out in the saturated market, they've tried cold email in the past and it didn't work out for them. These are some of my latent conditions for my niche. And what you're going to do is have a process on how to spike those conditions to inspire action. And then you're going to use feedback, which is really the core principle of this whole system, right? And then it's going to feedback is going to account into the latent conditions once again, and you're going to process it once again. And you're going to do that for attention. So you're going to make sure, you're going to see what spikes attention in your niche. And then also for the interest part, appointment part, so how to get interest from appointment, and then how to get appointment to show up. So this is going to be your show up process, and you're going to use feedback. And then primed prospect, so this is going to be somebody who sees value in your service and then buys. So you're going to use feedback on this part as well. And the core thing about here is just about input is going to be a lead, and then output is going to be a client, and then you're going to use feedback and iterate on the whole process once again. So this is really a high level overview on this system, and it all operates inside of an environment, which is going to be your niche. So this should represent an environment. um, but this is the system, this is the diagram of a systems thinking, that I've used to build my outbound infrastructure. And this is what you can use to start booking 20 sales calls every single month. So just to recap, we went through what outbound channel is going to be applicable for your niche, what are the benefits of each one, so you know what you're getting into, how you can combine them in order to get the most out of them. Then I talked about the foundation of client acquisition. I talked about how you need to go narrow and then you have to go wide after you nail this narrow part in. So just pick one channel at a time, maximum two, and then go wide and just expand on all of them. We talked about the triangle of client acquisition, the velocity triangle, right? So this one, speed, aim, and cadence. Uh, and at the end we talked about the systems thinking, right? So this is it for the video. I hope this was valuable. It's a bit short of 30 minutes, so it's quite a long video, but there's a lot of value here. I recommend that you watch it 2 times, and this is the way you're going to build a successful outbound or inbound system, but really outbound.